All right, what we're going to look at here is calibrating some traverse data as well as some drawn information to a state plane coordinate system. Basically, what we're looking at here is we've got some information that came to us in state plane coordinates. We have some traverse data along with some drawn data right up in here. Down over here on the left side of your screen here, what we have is some traverse data as well as some drawn data that was originally created on a local coordinate grid. And it has been moved in proximity to the actual field location here. So we're going to look at how you can calibrate this data, all of this data, to this data. Now you have to realize that we have a mix of things going on here. We have drawn objects, right? That's a traverse object, but we have drawn objects in here somewhere. There we go. We have drawn objects as well as traverse objects that have to be calibrated. And those are two different types of objects in Traverse PC. They're totally different from the program side. So they have to be handled separately. So here's how we're going to do this. We're going to start here by choosing select objects because I have drawn objects and traverse objects up here as well. So I can't move everything. I have to move a selected batch of stuff. So I'm going to go to select objects. Now right down here we have our status bar telling us that we can use a window or a cross. I'm going to use a window command. So to do that, I'll press and release W to create a window. Status bar tells me left click a starting corner. I'm just going to come up here. I'm going to left click here. Come down, you see the rectangle being displayed, get everything inside that rectangle, left click again, and everything that I want is now selected, and none of the stuff I don't want selected is selected. So I'll right click to end selection, all right, and now I'm going to right click on any selected object, and I'm going to choose Calibrate. Now Traverse PC says, hey, you've got traverse objects as well as drawn objects. So it's telling us that we're going to calibrate the survey data first, right here. The survey data will be calibrated now, then repeat the calibration for the drawing objects. All right, so this is not difficult to do, as you'll see. I'm going to choose OK now. And what I see, I've got 562 selected objects, and I want to calibrate everything, protected points, raw data, and I want to see some details. So I'm telling it I want everything. I'll go ahead and down here, I am going to create a calibration. All right, so I have some objects in this data that I want to match up to objects in this data. So I'm going to create a calibration, and I want to select point series from the drawing because I just want to be able to click, 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 tell it I'm done with that, and then move up here and go click, 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 and be done. So I want a point series. I don't want to have to jump from here over to here, back to here, back to here. That would be point pairs. I want a series just to make this easy. I'm going to choose OK, and it tells me that the traverse view is now active and I can follow the prompts to create the calibration. I'm just going to drag, I'm going to OK that, and then I'm going to drag this out of the way. Actually, I'll put it on my other screen. And notice down here, select uncalibrated series. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to zoom in on the area where my series starts. So what I want is this point right here, 25. I'm going to hit E for end. Notice I can use E for end, M for mid, T for intersect, I for insert. I'm going to use E for end. put my cursor on this line closer to the 25 end, click on it, and now I have that point. Now I'm going to hit E for end, do the same at the other end of that line. Now I've got that point. Now I want this point at the end of this line. I'll hit E for end, click. Now I've got that point. Now I need to scroll over a bit. Now you have to use the scroll bar. If you were to click on the screen, Traverse PC would interpret it as that being the point you want. Now I want the point at the end of this line. I'll hit E for end and left click. So now I have those 4 points, and you can see them. They're shown as in green here. So now I'll zoom page and zoom in on the same area in the real world coordinates. So right now I want the one at the left end of that line. So I'll do E for end, left click that. Oh, I forgot. See, that came in green. All right. So I'm going to left click that because that's not an uncalibrated point. I forgot a step. So I'll left click on that to make that go away. Select uncalibrated series. Well, I'm done with my series. Left click to unselect. That's what I just did. Right click switches to the control series. So I'm going to right click now. Now I'm going to select the control series. I forgot a step. Okay. So I'm going to hit E for end. The nice thing is that Traverse PC showed that to me, and you'll see what I mean in a moment. So I left click here. Now that's in this kind of pinkish color. And you can see this line going out to the point that it's matched up with. Now I'm going to do the same here. I want the end of this line, so I'm going to say E for end, get that. I want this point here, E for end, get that point. Notice these pink lines, they're going back to the points they're matched up to. And then I want that point, E for end, get that point. So that's all 4 points. So Traverse PC knows I matched up 4 points. It automatically says, here's your results. So I can take a look at my results and decide what I want to do. I could, in this case, I'm doing a horizontal conformal. And the vertical, I could choose to shift it. In other words, translate it to an average type elevation, or I could move it to the elevation plus do inclined plane. So totally up to you on whether you want to do any of the 3D on this. Now I'll go to the calibration tab and I give this calibration a name, and I'll just call this 19-538 Jackson Heights. It's up to you how much of this other stuff you fill in. You could fill this in or not. I'm just going to hit save on this, and I'll give it that same file name. Pardon me. 19-538 Jackson Heights. And now I'll say save. And what this has done is this has created a cal file, a calibration file, and it has attached it to this survey. All right, so Traverse PC knows that this is the calibration file for this job. Now when I hit calibrate, now remember it said it's going to calibrate survey data first. I hit calibrate, and here's my details. And now it's moved all that stuff up. It's calibrated it to that stuff. I'll go ahead and close this. Let's close this. Zoom page. And what we see is that the drawn objects are still over here. So now what I need to do, I need to calibrate those objects. So here's what we'll do. We're going to go back to select objects. In this case, I'm going to use I'm going to use a window again. Window, the entire object has to be in it. We'll see what we can do. I don't want to pick up any of the other stuff over on the right. So this is kind of tight. I'll left click there. All right, so I've got a lot of this stuff, but not all of it. I'm going to do another window, W, there. And the entire object has to be in the window, so I should be okay there. All right, so I've got all that. Well, I've got most of it, so I need that object. I'm just left clicking objects now to get them selected. Because it is so tight, it's tough to do this without selecting a few, and there aren't that many to do. So I've got all of that selected. There may be a few objects that aren't selected yet, but I'm not going to worry about that, and here's why. I'll right click to end selection, and then I'm just going to right click on a selected object and calibrate. And Traverse PC says, what do you want? And I'm going to tell it that I want to use an existing calibration. I've already created the calibration. So I come in here, hit this, and here's that calibration I created. I choose it out of the list, and I say, do it. So now it has calibrated all of those objects as well. So it took 2 steps, but because I had a calibration file created, it automatically, when I told it to do it using this file, it put it where it needed to be. That's the advantage of this. I don't have to identify the same points again to get that same calibration. I just tell it to use the calibration file. And that's all there is to it. Thank you.